Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. We invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful and brief. In this episode, we have Jennifer Camacho, mobile product lead at Nespresso. Jennifer, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thank you, Art. It's an honor for me to be here.
This is great. Thank you for coming. All right, I'm gonna set the stage first. So, think about it. Every single day, hundreds of millions of people around the world use mobile apps to do something. From checking a weather forecast to booking their next trip, buying something, or less pleasant things like, for instance, paying their taxes. Every app developer wants to keep her or his app users happy. But in real life, your idea of the best experience for your app users doesn't always match with what they think the best one should look like. So how do you fix that? That's a good question. And today, Jennifer will share her experience of doing that. But before we dive in, Jennifer, let's kick off with talking about you. What is your background?
Well, I've been working for more than 10 years on the digital landscape. As I said, my focus is mostly on e-commerce and lately in mobile apps. So I'm currently leading the Nespresso mobile app. It's an e-commerce app that we are building for a global audience. And the goal is to drive the growth and customer engagement, where I'm having a very good time with my team that is supporting this construction.
Do you like coffee?
Yes, of course. I am Colombian and I really enjoy my good cup of coffee.
Of course you should like coffee. All right. Please tell us about Nespresso. I'm sure 99.99999% of our audience know the Nespresso brand, but for the remaining 0 point something, what is Nespresso?
Well, Nespresso is a brand part of Nestlé. So the specialty of Nespresso is single serve coffee. We have high, let's say, specialized coffees that we market and that we sell. And we also support the sustainable production of the coffee in the origin so that it's a full circle of collaboration and of production. And now we, aside from being recognized from the coffee expertise, we are also striving to become leaders in digital innovation. So one of the tools that we are using for this is the mobile app, and it's playing a central role in the digital transformation of the company.
Okay. In your role as a mobile product lead, how do you approach the challenge of aligning product development with evolving customer expectations, especially in a rapidly changing digital landscape?
It's a very good question. And especially because we have changes that happen very fast. So the customer's expectations are one thing today and they can be something else tomorrow. For us, or for me, the most important part is the ability to understand the customer's point of view straight from the beginning. Of course, this combined with lots of data analysis and quantifiable pieces and facts of information. And this, the more we can do in a faster way so that we can assess whether our hypotheses are true or not, the better. So if I were to summarize all of this, I would say customer feedback, data analysis, and agile development processes would be the mix that will allow us to react faster, but also to start engaging in proactive actions so that we can fulfill those customers' expectations.
I see. Jennifer, when I look at the market for any application, I see a bunch of apps that collectively set expectations. So you're competing with other companies that are trying to do the same thing as you do, slightly different, and you all collectively set expectations. So when you build something in a product development of your app, you're either trying to kind of do your own way, trying to persuade your app users that this is the right way to do, or you're trying to pick up something for your competitors to meet the expectations that were preset before you launch your app, or what other people do in parallel with, with what you're doing. So, how do you mix this balance?
Yeah, as you said, it's a balance. So, from our side, let's say from Nespresso, we are experts in coffee. So, that's our greatest asset and the most important piece that we want to communicate about that product. But then there are industry standards for things that people are accustomed to doing. So, we are not trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to, for example, purchasing processes or presenting the most convenient ways of paying, because that's already set as a standard. I'm not going to try to push a particular way of paying when I know already that people are using Apple Pay, for example. But then we are trying to involve our customers and to understand what their expectations are in terms of how they want to see the products that we are selling. So, on the way of presenting products, even though there are standards, we may and we do engage in reaching out to our experts on the how is it that we sell coffee so that we present it in a better way for customers in a way that is still standard in the industry so that they are familiar with how to purchase a product, but that is specific enough so that we cater for the specific tastes of that product.
Indeed, that's a smart balance. Now, when making key decisions in mobile product development, how do you balance the use of data driven insights with the need to stay agile and responsive to unexpected challenges or feedback?
Let's say it's not so much of achieving a balance as to how much we can base our decisions on data and on facts. So, Mm, not necessarily balancing is like how to say, like a zero game, because most of the customers feedback are actually represented in the data that we get or in the insights that we get from quantitative data. So, for example, we will see that people are calling our customer support centers, and we are also seeing the rise in the numbers of those contacts, and we're seeing them to discuss about topics with their orders or topics with the time that we are taking to deliver their orders. So it's not necessarily a balance that we need to strike, but to find the organization where we read that data or we understand those feedbacks according to a trend, to identify trends, and that those trends will allow us to react, let's say. Mm, a very important piece in this part of balancing, in this balancing act, is the ability for us to act quickly. So it's the ability to test our assumptions with customers. So let's say that we identify that a trend is happening, and then we put something out there to see if our assumptions were correct based on that available information. So, one of the things that we do, and that is really pioneering in this mobile landscape, is the use of beta programs. So that customers will experience things that we are planning to launch or that we are building firsthand before other customers so that we can validate if those assumptions are correct or not. I think I went a little bit too much around, but I hope that answers the question.
Can you provide a quick example of a feedback? Because for me, coffee is kind of like a situation with Coca Cola or Harley Davidson. Whenever I try to change something, people want to go back to the basics. People so accustomed to the way Harley Davidson looks like and when you drive the bike, and they're so accustomed to the taste of Coca Cola the way it is, and yet the company keeps changing the brand, the way that it's been presented to customers. So what kind of feedback you guys are getting for Nespresso that makes you change something in the way that app works for them?
It's mostly related to convenience and to the ability of suggesting to customers what they would like next. As you may know, we have lots of variety in coffees, and we're always trying to push the boundaries of exploring new tastes and of allowing people to enjoy coffee from very differentiated parts of the world. So the amount of products that we have is sometimes could be intimidating for some people, because they may be just starting to understand the world of coffee. It may be that they have a very specialized taste in coffee. So what people are asking for is, considering the fact that we have this expertise and that we know them, then we should be able to provide these tailored recommendations for them to keep enjoying the world of coffee. And that is exactly what we are working to do in the app, so that we will provide things when the people are expecting it. So if you have just made an order, then we will know and we will keep you posted on the status of that order. Or if you are coming in because your coffee is finished, then we make it easier for you to purchase again. Or if you like a certain type of coffee, then we will suggest what other types of coffee you would prefer based on the knowledge of what you have purchased already.
Now, what strategies do you find the most effective in fostering collaboration and alignment across different teams when working on complex mobile projects, and especially when dealing with tight deadlines or high stakes?
Then the most important piece in that mix for me is communication. It's something that I always strive to do better, and is the essential ingredient in all many different kinds of ways. Communication with the teams, so directly with the people who are building the product, communication with the customer to understand that we are really understanding or really getting their points of view, communication with legal teams, with marketing teams, with sales teams, so that we can put our goals together and align them towards the same common objective. And especially the insurance that, or making sure that what we are communicating is understood and, let's say, interiorized by our stakeholders, because communication needs to be successful if we are to balance and to achieve this great goal of issuing this app where lots of customers are going to interact. So it's not just a matter of emitting a piece of information, but to ensure that it was incorporated, understood, and that we are aligned to keep moving forward. Mm, I would say that's it. Communication.
I see, Jen. Over the years, as I've been hearing the stories of so many companies of different sizes, one thing comes up over and over again: people, culture, how well people get together, how people can communicate with each other. I mean, you're hiring these people for different positions, making sure that they're good in coding, designing, marketing, finance. They have their own specialty. Like you want them to be good in something, some specific area, but at the same time, they all work together in the same project, and you need to make sure they understand each other and working towards the same goal. You can align what they do, and I think like a 99% of a success, many companies depends on how well people get together. Like there's no other way around, right?
Agreed. And hence the importance that I give to communication, because as you mentioned, there are many different types of intelligence involved in producing such a large product. Or that, let's say that we have experts in coding, we have experts in design, we have experts on commercial strategies, on marketing, and communication is the glue that sticks them all together. If communication is clear, then teams can get along. If communication is clear, teams can trust each other. If communication is clear, then I will rely on someone else so that they will effectively do their piece of the puzzle. So yes, it's again, I think everything comes back to communication, and that will foster all the different types of collaboration that are needed for this, for such an effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're just finished the first part of the show, and because it's your first time on the Business of Apps podcast, here comes the second one. And in that part, I ask a few quick questions for every guest who is a newbie. so we can know you a little bit better.
Good.
Just a few quick questions. Okay, so what smartphone do you have now? Are you been switching between iOS and Android or staying on one side all the time?
Well, right now I have an iPhone 13 Max. It was a switch of years of being Android because I really switched back. My first smartphone was an iPhone 4, and then I moved to Samsung and I stuck with Samsung and Android for many years. And just until 2 or 3 years ago, I went back to Apple. I really enjoy them both. But if you ask my preference, I would say that I will choose Apple because of the ability that it gives me to integrate multiple things into my life. So my computer is there, my phone is there, and the Android, I find that that is yet to be completely discovered.
I see that fancy word ecosystem that was borrowed from biology to world of tech. And it simply means that if you're consuming different content in your life, music, books, movies, podcasts, just like this one, you really want to have them all connected together seamlessly like Apple does. And if you succeed at that task, you may enjoy the same success, but it's really hard.
Exactly.
I totally hear you. I totally hear you why you're on the iOS side. All right,
Yes.
let's jump back in time. Do you remember your first mobile phone? The one you could put in your
Wow.
pocket.
I would say it was a BlackBerry. I don't remember the reference, but I do remember the keyboard and the way that the screen was interacting with the full keyboard in just your hands. And it was a little bit cumbersome, but it was so like fancy because it was different. Yeah. But those days, good old days.
Absolutely. And these days, BlackBerry is only something you can buy in groceries.
That is true.
um, yeah. All right. Back to present. So imagine for a second you've left your smartphone at home. You're out. What is the most missing feature for you at that point?
The most one would be the ability to pay. So I don't carry my wallet on me anymore. I've always been a little bit, how to say, clumsy when it comes to bringing your wallet everywhere because I have multiple bags or I will leave it in one and then not carry it. So I the thing that I would miss the most is the ability to pay just with my smartphone.
I see. We used to carry big wallets, but a bunch of coins.
Yeah.
Now, then coins and paper money went away. There were only cards, and now we're moving away from cards, and the phone is the only one we need, the only thing we need to actually paying for stuff anywhere. Okay, when you're looking at your iPhone 13 Max right now, can you think of anything hardware or software wise that would make it a better tool for you? Not necessarily something fancy or trendy, but anything that will make a better tool for you.
That would make it better than what it already is. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, and when I say better, not necessarily more, just better tool for your life, like more organic, so to speak.
Oh, more. Okay. So let's say that right now I do use my phone for pretty much everything. So, in going back to this ecosystem, if I have an idea, I will take a note and then I will go back to the computer and then elaborate on that idea. Or then I will move over to my iPad if I'm, like browsing or if I'm doing something else. What would make it more exciting would be like the improving of the voice assistants or with these AI technologies that are available now. So I know that in the latest iOS, they have announced that this will be available. For me, it would be the dream like if whenever I am around and I have an idea, I will consult something, but do it by voice, like having a conversation with my phone would be something that would be much more engaging or let's say less cumbersome to do within my daily life. Let's say that I am driving, I have an idea, then I will not need to stop or wait until I get there, but then I will just ask, no, like, oh, maybe what's the URL to the podcast of Business of Apps? And then they will just do things seamlessly for me.
I see. All right, that's the dream of the initial dream of what the virtual assistant should do for you, and finally, years and years later, we're getting that experience, not from Apple, not from Google, but from OpenAI.
Yeah.
Google trying to catch up, and other companies. But we'll see what the experience will be in a few years when we actually stop using apps as we published an article recently from Adjust that talks about the way for app marketers to change their mentality, not their mentality, their approach to marketing apps, because apps will begin to kind of fade away in the background because people more and more rely on AI, but you still need to market your apps. So yeah, that would be a different world. But anyway, thank you for coming. This was great. Before I let you go, a very, very final question. How can people get in touch and get more information about what you do?
Well, they can follow me on LinkedIn, or they can join some of the talks that I give at some events. I've had the pleasure to be with Business of Apps in a couple of them, and I'm always super happy to discuss product, mobile, digital transformation, or e-commerce, and to see if there are any shared challenges that we can share experiences and support each other with.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending time with us and coming on the show. Bye bye.
Bye.
And that was Jennifer Camacho, mobile product lead at Nespresso. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube podcasts. Just search for Business of Apps and you will find us easily. Remember, we release episodes on Mondays, so subscribe and you will be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please, don't forget to leave us a review or comment on iTunes. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.